Let me get this tweeted out so everybody can join in here. 1 second, please. All right. There we go. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Let's get that. Make sure everybody can get joined in. Give me 1 second, guys. Here. Here. Oh, sorry, guys. I clicked the wrong button there. And we are live. Let me click that one. Here. Let's post that. There we go. That's the live link right there. Okay. Both links will work. Will work fine. All right. So there we go. So there's that. And that. And that. Okay, great. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good, good, good. All right. Well, I hope everybody had a wonderful and blessed weekend, and thanks everybody for joining in here. As we have a special guest here tonight. Normally we have our Elliott Wave show on Sunday nights, but tonight we've got Chris from ChatterQuant joining us, and I'm really excited about talking about what they do. So there's some links in the description for ChatterQuant's Twitter, and there's a once we talk about the tool that they use a little bit more, there's some links to their website where you guys can check out their pro version, stuff like that. But tonight we're going to be talking about using social sentiment to our advantage. And ChatterQuant is a really cool tool to be able to do that. And I'm really happy to have discovered that. And I think it's very, very powerful stuff because they find stuff that I typically don't trade. And I think, there's a lot of folks out there that really like a lot of the names that these guys come up with. And I think it can really add, some more breadth to your kind of stock perspective, especially when you see what a lot of the big names out there are looking at, and it gives you a way to kind of focus on those. So really, really cool stuff there. Before we get started, though, everything we're going to talk about is for educational purposes only and not investment advice. So please take a moment to review this disclaimer. Do 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 do. All right, awesome, 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 good, good, good. So what we're going to do is first we're going to take a look and see where we left off at the market last week, and then we're going to go take a look at the futures and see what we're up to or down to here this evening, and what might be setting up going into the rest of the evening into tomorrow. I'll put a little bit of perspective out there of what could happen this week, and definitely some obstacles or at least some points of interest that we're looking at going into this week, and so that'll be pretty interesting. Then I'll turn it over to Chris from ChatterQuant, and he's going to go over this really cool tool. So I think you guys are going to like it, and we'll go from there. So let's get started. All right, guys. So SPX, wow, finished down about 40 points on Friday, right? So you can see on the monthly chart right here, we've got a red candle, right? Not necessarily anything to really worry about just yet because the month hasn't closed yet. But one thing that we've talked about in the past is usually any sort of big down move starts with a red month, right? And so you can see here during the Corona crash, wow, that was like 2 years ago. But it started with a red monthly candle, and then we started to see the downside action after that. We had a red candle here, no follow through, red candle here, no follow through, and we don't even know if it's going to be a red candle this month. As far as we know, it could be green. So we just kind of have to keep an open mind and follow the price action. But let's take a look at the weekly chart. So one of the things that we have pointed out here recently, which didn't surprise us that we saw a little follow through last week, was this pattern right here. 1, 2, 3, evening star reversal on the weekly chart, right? We don't see that too often. We do see some dark cloud cover out there. We see some engulfing candles, things like that. But a evening star reversal is pretty rare. We started to get some follow through the downside. It actually pushed up a little bit as we expect, and then right on Friday, right, that 40-point down move really got this thing to crack. And so when you look at the daily chart, one of the real big things that we're looking at right now is where we are. And so we really called this this market like a champ last week. We had 6 red days in a row, and about the 6th red day, we're pretty close to the 50-day moving average. We're like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a green day, right? And then from there, what do we want to see? We want to see a push over the ADMA and then a push to the upside, and we couldn't get over the ADMA. The next day gave us a pause day, a chop day. They did try to rally it, right, try to get you back into it, but still couldn't get above the ADMA. Inside day, and then we took the inside day down on Friday. And what's interesting is we actually pierced the 50-day moving average, and so what's next, right? Are we going to go to the cloud, or are they going to try to rally their way back up? So what's really interesting about this too, guys, is is the daily chart, right? As you guys know through our trend line theory, what we see is that after we break a trend line, we keep a trend box on it until we can close below that trend box with increasing volume and kind of towards the lows. And we got that on Friday, right? And what do you mean volume here on the SPX? We don't have volume. Well, we look at the SPY, right? And so we had a really big volume on SPY. A lot of that might have to do with OPEX on Friday, right? So with all the contracts closing, it's usually a high volume day anyway. So there might be a little shenanigans in there, but still, it's definitely something that we need to be concerned about. So you can see here on SPY, increased volume, close below its 50-day moving average with a little bit more authority. So we're definitely going to be tracking the cloud right here to see how that holds. And one of the big concepts that we need to look at going into here is how well the 50-day moving average has held since since the Corona crash. We've only undershot it a couple times, right? So if you kind of go back through the SPY, you can see we held it here. The 50-day moving average is the red line, right? We undershot it right here, but quickly closed back above it and then pushed above the ADMA. We tagged it here, got above the ADMA, worked our way back up. We tagged it here, got above the ADMA on this one, but no follow through. Inside candle back down. We tagged it one more time, then we got above the ADMA again, continued to work our way up. We tagged it again here, a little bit of an undershoot, worked our way back up. We tagged it again here, worked our way. You guys see a pattern right here? So we hit this about like 8 or 9 times coming up to here. We're just got close to it there before bouncing above the ADMA, work its way up, and then we're back at it here, and we're actually down below it. So is it going to be one of these undershoot type scenarios to work its way back up, or not, right? Is it going to be the start of something bigger? If we look at our Elliott wave count on SPX, one of the big things that we're seeing here is that the wave count may actually be finished, right? So we could actually, this could have been just an expanded flat up here, ABC, and then now we really could be working on a wave 1 down, right? Because we were looking at this as the potential of the wave C as an ending diagonal, but what if it's a leading diagonal? And if it is a leading diagonal, then we can see a clear A, B, C wave 2, and we may be actually in the beginnings of a wave 3 move. So don't be surprised if we actually move back one more time to about a 618 and then see another explosive move to the downside to test a couple of these other levels below. So we're in very, very interesting territory right here. And two more things before we grab the futures and turn it over to ChatterQuant to take a look at their really cool tool, is that we have this option expiration on Friday. Right? And so a lot of times, and there's actually been a lot of talk about this, Bloomberg talked about the option, we've been talking about it here all the time, but every time we get to option expiration, right, we tend to see movement, right? And you can see these red dashed lines here are all your option expirations, and once those options expire, right, look at this, when we hit the 50-day move, it was right after the option expiration, right, and it ended up working its way back. We had a big green candle. Why is that? Because all the gamma comes off the books, right? We've got the all the options that we're trading that were expiring, all the puts that were expiring on Friday, all the monthlies, all the weeklies, they're gone, right? And so unless there's a huge amount of option activity which can drive the market these days, and Chris is going to talk about that a little more in a little bit, because retail is really stepping into the game more than they ever did. And so so we could see actually a big green candle on Monday and have this thing go up to all-time highs, get out of this downtrend line, and be back to business as usual, right? Back to bullish until proven otherwise. So this is a huge week this week, guys. And the other thing that we're looking at coming into this week, which is interesting, is not only we have the fresh option gamma coming on, but we've got the Fed coming on Wednesday. So what happens, right? So if we gap down and we actually see some more red downside follow through, and then the Fed doesn't have anything good to say about tapering and things like that, we really could see a push below the cloud and maybe even a push down to the 200-day moving average, right? So that's kind of a big thing to look at here too. I'm going to look at one more thing here for you guys so you can see this. Amazing stuff right here. So right before the Corona crash, right? Look at that red dashed line right there, option expiration. So when I first saw the futures, and we'll take a look at them a little bit, when I first saw them down, I was like, uh-oh, right? If they gap these things down tonight, that's kind of Corona crash type stuff, right? So because don't forget, even though we could see positive gamma on Monday, we could see negative gamma, right? They could gap it down, they just start loading up on puts, and then the market makers have to hedge to the downside to try to chase this thing, right, to keep their delta neutral. And then look at this, we had all this huge down move right here through, and look where we reversed. Option expiration, right? We gapped above it with a big green candle, and then we had the positive gamma start to come in, and it just never ended, and it still hasn't ended yet, right? So we're just kind of, when you look at it like that, we need to see where we open tomorrow. It could be very interesting, especially the price action the next couple days, and then we want to see if the Fed adds fuel to the fire one way or the other, right? So those are going to be the big things that we're looking at going into this week. So other than that, guys, let's take a look at the futures here and see where we are at. So we're only down 7 points right now. We started down like 16 or 20, so that was pretty huge right there. But let's take a look and see where we're at. They're trying to climb it up a little bit right here. So we'll see. This could be a bear flag going into tonight, right? So we'll just we'll put a little flag pattern on this right here for now. and see if how this channel holds, right? So if we break down below here and we gap down like 20, 25, 30 points tomorrow, that could be very, very interesting. But if we grind up and then the European market opens and we get some overnight drift and they start working its way up and we gap up 30 points, well, maybe we'll be in positive gamma territory. So we'll see how that goes, and we're going to track that going into tomorrow. So cool stuff, guys. Thanks everybody again for tuning in. We've got ChatterQuant. We got Chris from ChatterQuant here with us this evening. We're not doing our Elliott Wave show, and we're probably not going to be doing chart requests tonight, but we are going to be looking at some really cool charts tonight as after we look at the ChatterQuant software. So, guys, Chris from ChatterQuant is going to present to you ChatterQuant, and I just got when I found it, I was like, wow, this is a little bit different than some of the free tools that you can find out there, and because of just how well it's organized and how a little bit different they do their analytics. So you can look at some names that are really getting some social sentiment moves and really be able to use it to our advantage. So I'm really excited that Chris is here with us tonight. I'm going to turn it over to Chris, and I believe he's got the ChatterQuant window open right here. And Chris, you are live and good to go. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks so much for having me, Bubble. So yeah, absolutely. I'll start off by kind of walking through our Reddit tab. I'm sure everybody's familiar with what happened with GameStop and AMC. These stocks ran thousands of percentage points solely based on social sentiment and social media discussion volume alone. What we here at ChatterQuant aim to do is capture these movements. Everyone's familiar with GameStop and AMC, but most people don't realize that there's probably about 5 or 10 stocks a week that'll run, anywhere from 10 to 100%. And the options on those contracts will run anywhere from, hundreds of percentage points all the way up to thousands of percentage points. And we saw quite a few of those this week with OPAD and IRNT, SDC, and LiDAR. I mean, those ones, thousands of percentage points at once. But I'll start off by kind of going over the first tool on our Reddit page. This monitors the conversation volume in the last 12 hours displayed in kind of a time series. So you can kind of see when the spikes of discussion volume are happening. Are you getting in toward the beginning, or has it already peaked? That was kind of our goal when making this box. And then right next to it, you'll see post upvote volume in the past 24 hours. Not every post is created equal. This goes for Twitter and Reddit. And if something gets posted a lot of times but nobody sees it, it doesn't necessarily have the same impact as a post that gets thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of upvotes. So you can see here that Baba got a whole bunch of upvotes recently, and if you actually click on that, we can break that down a little bit more. We'll see a short description of Baba here, as well as how's the discussion volume changed this week versus last month. Some news from IEX, as well as the latest Reddit and posts and DD posts. And we see that there's a post, and if we were to click on that, it would take us to Reddit, but I don't think I'm going to do that today. That 13,000 of the upvotes that power that tool there came from this one post here, as well as latest Reddit comments, latest Twitter posts, and we have our options activity coming soon, hopefully the end of this coming week here.
That's going to be really cool. I really love this, like the way you guys have this dashboard organized. Very, very cool stuff. Just keep in mind, guys, Reddit, we can't censor it.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. No, that's okay.
Definitely,
That's okay.
it's a mixed bag on Reddit of quality, post quality.
That's
sure.
right. That's right. But what I really love about what ChatterQuant does is how it really just like you look at the upvotes, you look at how much sentiment is going on in those, and that's tough to do. There's some tools out there, some free tools out there which are interesting, and some that I've looked at in the past. I was like, hey, maybe I can try to find some Reddit activity, but normally it's just GameStop hanging out up top, and it's like, okay. I mean, it's not really doesn't really show that it's active, and I think it's pretty cool that you guys can find that here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. One of the things that makes us different from anybody else that anyone might have seen is, from my knowledge, and I have done pretty extensive research into it, being in the business that we're in, we are the only people who do second level and minute level data. I mean, this is tick level changes that happen on this data. You're not going to miss anything if you're using ChatterQuant, and it's going to run based on that discussion volume. And you can also filter these, to see how does it break it down individually for Baba and see how has this changed every 6 hours, and a daily chart to kind of see how has it changed hour by hour. We go
It's
back to Reddit because I jumped around a little bit and I apologize for that, Bubble, and anybody else watching. But what we have here is then we have our trending tickers in the past 24 hours. So we can see SDC, which had a major run, was actually one of the ones I forgot to bring up, but that options ran a couple thousand% on Friday.
It's really
Um,
incredible. SDC is a guys. I'm going to pull up the chart right here. SDC is a chart that we actually track, in our group and here on, in our Twitter space. It's an interesting name, and it hit our radar, and we definitely pointed it out, but it kind of fell off the radar a little bit. And having a tool. Look at this. Woo! Look at that move right there. You had this big nice close here over the 80-minute. We got your 50-day movers, and then boom, you gapped up, and then intraday, just on Friday, this thing was huge at the open, right? And so if you have a tool like ChatterQuant, this helps it keep it on your radar, right? Because we'll take a name like SDC, yeah, it looks like it's breaking out, and then you look back at it and you miss it. But when you have something like this that goes, like you said, it gives you that volume that to the tick activity and conversation about it. It can get you involved a little bit sooner. And then even if you don't have the option activity available yet, right? For those of us that use our options chains, you can just go to the options chain, right, and look at it and see that, hey, this thing's hot. So if you know that there's good sentiment on it, there's a lot of option activity, and I know a lot of you guys use other stuff too, like your option flow things like that. This can give you a really good opportunity for a trade. I think it's very powerful.
totally agree, and that's what we kind of tried to capture when we built ChatterQuant. So based on things popping up on the radar, I'll quickly go through the features here on the 24 hours, and then I'll take you to the alert center, which I personally use to trade with to put things on my radar, so to speak. Same way with custom search, you can kind of break down how has this changed in the last 6 hours versus the last 1 hour. And as we can see, SDC has really maintained its discussion volume. The numbers are going to be a little bit muted here since it is the weekend, but SDC has maintained a topic of discussion, and I try to avoid things once they've hit number one, because once you see it all over your feed, all over the news, all of that, you don't want to be the sucker that bought it and held the bag. But with this continued discussion momentum, it's definitely something I'm going to be keeping my eye on tomorrow for open. One of the other things you can do with this chart here is sort it by market cap. We know some people prefer to trade some people only like to trade micro caps and penny stocks, and some people will avoid those at all costs.
Oh wow, that's really
So
cool. This is really cool, guys.
absolutely.
Like I said, I've seen like some free stuff that's out there on Twitter, and you look at it and you're like, okay, cool, that's number one. It's number one talked about thing on Reddit and all that stuff. But the fact that you can actually kind of drill down and sort the stuff that you like to trade, or at least like you said, that actually has maybe some liquidity to it. You'd be like, man, if it does, can I get out of this thing? That type of thing. That's pretty cool.
That's something definitely to keep in mind when you're playing penny stocks for sure. I mean, if you might make the right decision and buy $10,000 worth of puts and not be able to sell out of it without tanking the price of those things 50%, right? So that's something to keep in mind. We also have sort by sector. Some people like to stick with what they know, so they might trade solely tech stocks. So we'll scroll down, or financial. Like if you click on financial, it'll apply all of the. I guess there were no financial stocks on Reddit in the last 24 hours. Interesting. So then we go to technology, and it'll apply the technology filter.
Yeah.
And so that kind of leads me to actually
PLTR
before that.
hot. I'm just looking at that as your second one. That was so hot, guys. Wednesday last week on the YouTube live stream, we had one of our guests, in our chat group, talked about PLTR. And let me pull up this chart here real quick, guys. What an incredible chart on PLTR! I just love this one. It was they pointed out on Wednesday, and then once again I missed it on Thursday morning. Where are we? Here. Look at this. I mean, it's beautiful. Cup. Handle breakout on Wednesday. This was when you guys mentioned it here, right? Increased volume, breaking over the brim line. I mean, you jump in this thing on Thursday. What an incredible move on that one! And then if it had that social sentiment on it too, it just is another thing to add confidence. You'd be like, wow, this thing is hot, because the market was weak on Thursday, right? And so it's like, do you go along on this thing? And it's like, well, yeah, Chris, I talked to you the other day, and you said, what is it, 35% now? There's like a 35% increase Like there's like 35% of the
Right.
market is like retail
Retail
trade.
used to only power or be responsible for about 10% of price movement and money flow in the market. And that number, depending on what source you have, has gone all the way up between 35 to 40, 45%. So retail's effect on the market has changed significantly.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and then we'll go to our alert center, which is I kind of talked a little bit about once something hits number one for me, that's often a sell signal. I like to go and I'll take my profits at that point because I don't want to bag hold. I don't want to be one of the guys FOMOing into a play. And for anyone who doesn't know what that means, that's fear of kind of missing out into a play. Brings us to our alert center where we start monitoring unusual discussion volumes. My favorite one out right now. I'll talk a little bit about the ones that are coming out soon. But with that one, we look back at a universal average. And so you won't be seeing a notification about Tesla unless Tesla really pops compared to how it usually is being discussed. And that's where people that were signed up to our platform last week were able to get into LiDAR and grab those 4,000% gains because the way LiDAR moved was so quick.
Yeah.
I mean, there was unusual discussion volume. It peaked. It was a low float, low liquidity stock, and that run was substantial. As well as OPAD, which we got a little more time on that one. With OPAD, you were able to get in 2 or 3 days beforehand, actually, because unusual or volume started to go a little bit above average, and then really started to kind of snowball into what it ended up becoming, which was like a 90% run in one day in the actual equities of that stock. We also have our Reddit top trending alert, our Twitter top trending, and our Olympic medal. These ones are just as they sound. It's hit number one most discussed on those platforms. Our Olympic medal alerts you if it's now top 3 on both Reddit and Twitter, and I also use that alert personally often as a take profit signal. Then we get into a little bit more of our interesting ones where we go into momentum, where we're starting to combine some of this fundamental and extra data with sentiment, which is gets rid of a lot of the noise that you'll find in either of those fundamentals or the sentiment. Our momentum alert combines trade volume with spikes in discussion volume. Short squeeze adds short interest data to that same thing. Rocket Catcher, instead of monitoring volume, it's the difference between price action and discussion volume. Pelosi Trade Tracker, that's just kind of a fun one.
Michael Phillips out there, he's dying of laughter. The Pelosi Trade Tracker, he loves it.
That was a fun one we put together, and it was actually something I wanted to know, right? If Pelosi's trading what you're trading, you're probably doing it right. Right. And so that's why we.
It's her husband that's trading it.
Right.
Yeah, it's hilarious, but that's hilarious.
Then we move on to our stop talk, which is kind of for what will be another sell signal or a potential entry for shorts. If you do like to play the bearish plays, I like to play both. I've made probably some of my biggest gains on some of these bearish ones because it's just so easy.
Smart. Yeah, that's pretty smart because you look at it, all these things they have these huge runs, but don't forget they usually drop pretty fast too. So you got to watch out for the implied volatility. But if you catch a debit spread or something like that where you can control that a little bit better, or if you just get some puts, that's a great way to kind of fade a lot of these moves too.
Absolutely, and one of the things you'll also see is that most of the people trading these are a lot of momentum players, right? They see, oh, this is starting to get talked a lot about on Twitter, and beforehand it was just through their feeds, and now that you have something like this, but these are people buying in with low, if not no conviction in the stock. They're literally just like, hey, I hope it runs 20% and I can take my profits. So as soon as you start seeing these dips, the crashes that come after some of them are pretty substantial. And that's where what we're trying to capture here.
Cool.
Our smart money, go ahead.
Yeah, cool. I like all the stuff that you guys are working on. This is really great. I mean, this is like a lot of stuff that has crossed my mind in the past. I'm sure a lot of you guys out there too. And it's just like, wow, how can I, instead of just jumping all around Twitter and jumping on Reddit and trying to look at tools, I mean, I just love how you guys encapsulate this all in kind of one dashboard.
Right. I appreciate that. And so next we'll move on to our smart money, which is we'll notify you of large block trades on high trending tickers. That's kind of telling you our institution's getting behind it. You won't see this data up front, but behind the scenes with some of the other stuff that we're building, There really are on some of these runs some institutions that are throwing large sums of money. They're typically taking quicker scalps, but you'll see huge block trades occur on something as it's starting to trend up, and they'll take a quick scalp as everybody follows in on that momentum. But it really interesting to see, and so that's what smart money is going to notify you of. Same with sweep alerts, notifies you of institutions that are trying to take advantage of these movements. Newsrunner is the one that we're testing that I'm most excited about. It tells you if there's a spike in trade volume that can be linked directly to a news article that recently came out.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that one's been pretty exciting. It's not a very one I use for long-term trades at all, but it's been a fun one to play with. And then we have our Ripple, Tidal, and Tsunami, which are all options flow alerts.
Cool.
So next, I'll quickly go over our earnings tab. This is something that other people do as well, but we've kind of added our own spin to it. We display all earnings where you'll see someone like Earnings Whisper will only display what they consider to be the top earnings, as well as adding a little bit of data that we think is important, such as did they beat or miss their last EPS report? So if it's red, you'll know that 51 Job Inc. Missed their last earnings report, and it's all sorted by market cap. And green says Stitch Fix beat their earnings report last quarter. Maybe I'll play this, maybe I won't, but it does give you a little bit more information. And the gray are for companies that don't give earnings estimates or don't publicly give it to NASDAQ or any of the other people that track it.
Mm-hmm. I like how this even
Finally,
pulls up the like your. I really like how it pulls up the most recent earnings here too, so you can see what's going on this week. You see FedEx coming up this week. What do we got? Costco this week, and I think Nike this week too. So a couple of the big names. Really interesting to see Costco actually miss last time, but we'll see what they have in store this week. I'm sure it'll be
I
interesting.
actually played Costco. I thought, there's no way they're not going to absolutely smoke their earnings
They
with
always beat.
COVID, right? And COVID on top of it. I was like, man, everybody's all cooped up using Costco.com and all of
Yeah.
that. And I got apps. Those calls got destroyed.
I know, yeah.
Um,
The one thing with Costco that we noticed is that it just always goes up. You just have to you just gotta wait for it to dip when it dips. It's sometimes it's like, oh, it's never gonna dip, and then it dips, and you're like, and then you're like, is it going down? Nope, it's going right back up.
right. So it's a pretty stable one for sure. Next, we have our after hours and futures tab, which is just additional data, just based on index futures on indexes, commodities, and forex, as well as the economic calendar, which I actually use pretty frequently. This was in partnership with TradingView. We're able to put this on here, and what that does is it tells you anything that might move the market coming up in the next couple of weeks, right? So COVID cases, unemployment numbers, Fed talks, inflation numbers, everything that you're going to want to know that might cause some volatility is going to be on the economic calendar page. And for those of you who are in education, I know Bubble does a lot of that, but I'm sure his are better than what we have here. But what we have is we partnered up with Bullish Bears, and they kind of give you about $4,000 worth of their courses to go through, and it has something for everybody. Anything from what's the difference between a bid versus ask, all the way to how to set up iron condors, iron butterflies, straddles, strangles, stuff like that, and a candlestick course. And finally, our options flow tab, which is coming soon, and just is going to be a little more in depth about options.
Great, awesome. This is such an exciting tool, guys. It's normally I'm not like I normally don't get too excited about stuff. I've demoed all sorts of things from options flow in the past, cheddar flow, and blah blah blah, and it's usually just noise, right? Is usually what it comes down to. But I really like how this kind of encapsulates the Reddit community, the Twitter community, and really can help you find what's going on in social sentiment out there and how things could be moving. Really cool stuff there. Chris, I don't know if you have any more to show about the application itself, but I'd love to see more about movement, maybe from like Twitter or something like that you've seen, so folks can see some examples of some of the stuff that you guys have pointed out recently, or something like that. I'm not sure what you've got if you
Sure,
want to
I
do as
can
part of your
I can
plan, or
run through just our charting platform really quickly, and then afterwards maybe I'll throw you a couple names and you can kind of run through the movement on your charts if that works.
great. Yeah, that sounds good.
Perfect. So right now, what we have is our charts. This is getting a complete rework, but as of right now, what you can do is you can look at a ticker like GameStop, and it'll apply tweets onto from the top 500 influencers that we're following on Twitter, and you'll be able to plot their tweets on this chart and kind of see when discussion volume's starting to spike, who's the first person to call these runners? I mean, we obviously have more than GameStop. You can look up just about any ticker. I think maybe a good one to look at might be OPAD with the run that it had last week. So we look up OPAD, apply that to the chart, and kind of see that definitely there was definitely an increase in volume where it came from absolutely nothing to having some chatter about it.
Oh, that's really cool. So
Um,
you basically can take the chart right there and take a look at your top influencers. Do you guys do Twitter only, or does it include? Can you sort it by Reddit, or how does that work?
Great question. So right now it's Twitter top 500. We are doing the complete rework where you're going to actually be able to plug in, and this is coming out at the beginning of next month. You're actually going to be able to plug in anybody's Twitter profile and be able to apply their tweets to the chart and see did they really call it first or did they not,
Oh, that's
as
cool.
well as yeah, as well as we're going to be having insider buys and sells plotted on a chart, institutional buys and sells, options data is going to have an indicator, sentiment's going to have an indicator, and congressional trades are all going to be plotted on the chart,
Oh,
right?
that's
So if you
awesome.
see Congress buying something, institutions buying something, and the insiders are all buying, that's a pretty bullish long-term outlook probably for the stock, as opposed to if it's selling, I might think twice before getting into a bullish position on that.
Nice.
So maybe I was thinking I can throw a couple of the alerts
Yeah.
that we sent out, and you can kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
break them down
Are you able
and
to
see
pull
what
the
happened
alerts
there.
up in the ChatterQuant here, or do you have a list right now?
So I know I showed you the one signal last time that had all of our alerts. We just switched to Firebase, and so it's a little bit messy. So I
Okay.
can just read out a couple of them,
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, for sure. So,
perfect.
guys, we need to get some more follows on Twitter so we can be in the top 500, so we can be an influencer here for ChatterQuant. But yeah, let's
We
take.
can add you either way, Bubble. Appreciate you.
Nice,
So
thanks. All
perfect.
right, cool. Well, let's take a look at some charts here, guys. Some of the recent ones that ChatterQuant had alerted. Now, this is did you guys alert it kind of like during the move or before the move, or if you basically just give me a date, we'll take a look at it and see what it looked like on the chart.
Perfect. Yeah. So Ader, we had alerted on September 12th.
Ater, Ater, Aterian Core. Who's heard
Correct.
of that name before? See, guys, these are names I've never heard of. I don't trade this stuff, but like, who doesn't want to, right? Or whether you fade it or whether you go with it, right? I mean, who doesn't? So it's like you kind of want to be involved with this when all of the social media is involved with it too. But sometimes it's hard to tell. It's like is Trader Stewie following it or what, right? That type of thing. So so you look at that. So what do we got? When did you alert Ader?
On the 12th,
On the 12th.
it ran
Oh,
171%
nice.
from our first alert.
So you guys got this over. You guys alerted this over the weekend, and then boom on the 13th we got this huge gap up and a big gap and go spike on this. That's incredible. And then you got the fade too after that as well,
Right.
right?
Yeah. So one of the great things about sentiment is you can definitely play both sides. It can be a little more lucrative to grab the bullish ones because you don't have to, especially if you're playing simple options, you don't have to deal with IV or
Yeah,
any of
yeah.
those
It's like
things.
it's
But if
going
you
down, but but so are my puts. What's happening, right?
right. No, that'll get someone new to the game, for sure. Then we had IRNT that ran 121%. We alerted that on a
IRNT.
Thursday.
Was it recent? Oh my goodness! Look at
It
this thing
was
right here.
recently,
Woo!
correct?
Okay, so we had let's see. So Thursday was the 16th. Does that sound right? About the 16th right here. So
No, the Thursday before,
the
so
Thursday
like a week
before.
ago
Okay, so the
Thursday, correct?
ninth. All right, let's take a look. So, oh wow, look at this. So right on the ninth right here, guys. So this thing had just pulled back. It gave a big pop right there. So that probably got it going on the social media or the social sentiment radar right there. Who even knows that this is IronNet? But pulled back for 2 days, but it didn't drop. It didn't keep dropping. Look at this. We talk about this a lot here, guys. Look at that red candle. Right. Look at the low volume on that red candle. it was down. It was a nasty candle, but they weren't. It wasn't really real selling compared to what we saw here on this day right here. And then they alerted it on this day on the 9th, and then boom, just the next day alone was a huge spike on that one. But if you followed the ADMA up in this one, you got a nice inside day after that, and then earnings came up, and then kapow, yeah, huge move on this. So do you think institutions were getting involved here? We're trying to get a little bit, elephant trying to get in through a doorway. I would say so. And then you had this big move right here after earnings, and then boom, another huge day up. That's a Michael Phillips move right there for sure. Nice.
It was definitely an interesting one, and people did really well on that. Another one was OPAD that ran for 2 or 3 days. We alerted that on the
Woo!
morning of the 14th.
The 14th. Look at that, guys. So you got a nice green candle right here over the ADMA. Volume is rising on this thing. You got social sentiment on this one. Just ride your lows right here. Look at that. Over this low right here. Over this low right here. Over this low. Boom. I mean, anytime you can go from $10 on a stock to over $20, really incredible stuff. Amazing. You got any
Definitely
more?
been an
This is so much.
interest.
This is so much fun.
It's yeah, absolutely. It's been an interesting thing to see. CCJ came 2 weeks ago. That one's a little bit old. It
Yeah.
came out on the day of our. I think that was actually one that we were talking about when we first started talking.
Yeah.
Bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CCJ was an interesting one. We pointed this out in our group. CCJ is kind of a name that we would trade. We look at that. We track a lot of these names, uranium, things like that. Where we like to know what's going on in Iran and all that stuff. So you get a nice geometric breakout right here. Then you start to see some volume really start to come in once we get above the cloud. And anytime you see double the volume, right, you start to really get interested right here. Huge, almost a Marubozu candle right here with almost double the volume. And then look at that. Look at that move right there from $20 and some change all the way up to $26. Incredible move on CCJ. Wow.
Yep, and then I've got one more for you that I
Sure.
prepared here to total us at five was LiDAR, and that was the one where I just IV shot up, and a lot of the gain came from that.
Help me out. What's the ticker on that one? Like I said, I don't trade.
LIDR.
LIDR. That's right. LIDR. Whoa! Look at that thing. Incredible. Yeah, so it's essentially, there was some big news. Tesla was getting a big move that day. I think a lot of the Chinese electric vehicle names were making a move. And then this thing does tend to move on, like Apple news, Tesla news, stuff like that. When, any of these, where they would use LiDAR or something like that to kind of give it LIDR. Look at that huge move on that one. Big
It
spike.
was wild. I mean, we had one of our followers on Twitter DM'd me and said I bought these. He had bought 100 at 1 cent,
Oh
and
my goodness,
they
that's
went.
incredible.
They were $1 a contract, and went all the way up to $200 a contract at their peak.
Oh my goodness,
Um,
it's from a penny. That's
yeah,
incredible. I love it.
right.
That's great,
So
guys.
yeah, and then AXTG is one more if we wanted to do one more.
AXTG. Access Technologies Group. Oh my goodness, Michael Phillips. That's a candle that we like on our birthday cake right there. Goodness gracious. Wow. Cool. Incredible move on this, guys. This is all, I mean, this is a name I would never even think about looking at ever. Right? It's a penny stock, right? I mean, but, you kind of have these really really low volume days, and then this volume really just starts to plow in right here like this. Anytime you get 3 times the volume coming in, right, you're looking at 18 million shares traded right there, and then boom, that push on Friday, right? Not the entire market was not bearish on Friday when you get names like this that are just blasting through their cloud and a huge volume move. That's incredible.
And
Amazing.
another interesting thing that we see as well is that it sentiment tends to some of these the pops on some of these sentiment plays seem to be a lot more exaggerated on either slow or bearish market days because people, whether that be institutions or just retail, are looking for a place to move their money or
Yeah.
find a quick scalp, and
So,
so that's where we really actually see a lot of the big ones as well.
something to trade. Nice. That's awesome. Wow. Well, those are some incredible examples there, guys. I went through the ChatterQuant Twitter feed and just kind of went back, several weeks and was just kind of going through. I was like, oh, okay, wow, oh wow, oh my goodness, wow, that would have been a great one. I was kept on just doing that. So, really cool tool, Chris. I don't know if you have anything more you want to present about, or do you want to kind of talk about, if people are interested, how they can get involved?
Yeah, for sure. So, Bubble, I did give you a link for this show here tonight, and anybody who signs up through that, we're still in our early stages. We're a fraction of where we want to be as a company, and
And that's
we
really
really want to
exciting
just.
too. You've already shown us all the stuff that's on your radar. You guys are already, just the way that you guys take social, social sentiment and kind of break it out into different, The way you guys break it out, I think is really pretty incredible. So it looks like this thing is going places. Guys, if you check out the description there, there's a link on there. You can check out ChatterQuant there. What happens if they click on the bubble link there? So GoPro with ChatterQuant. That takes them to. Do they get any sort
That
of?
takes them to our site, and they get a 40% discount every single month. And we're going to grandfather that price in as we continue to expand our tools and give people access like hasn't people have never had before.
Awesome,
So
cool.
40% off every single month if you use Bubble's link right there. And if you one thing I kind of want to end before I don't have anything else to say, but is we're small. We're traders that just felt that there was an insufficiency in terms of providing data on the market. And we really are open to feedback. If there are things people don't like or if there are things people want to see, don't hesitate to DM me or DM Bubble, and I'm sure he'll let me know. But we're open to building tools that people want. So if someone has a great idea for a tool, we'd be happy to look into implementing that for them.
That's awesome. Really powerful stuff, guys. Again, wow, Chris, thanks so much for joining us here from ChatterQuant. Like we said, guys, in the description here, we've got the ChatterQuant Twitter page. I think it's a great place to chart. Check out their Twitter. Check out all the stuff that they've been tweeting out. Look at some of the stuff they've been doing. And then you click on the link here. I guess you can kind of sign up maybe for a demo or something. I'm not exactly sure, but they can sign up there. You get 40% off, and that's every month off of their regular pricing. So we've got that link here. We've got the ChatterQuant Twitter link here. You got my Twitter link here if you guys are just joining us here from YouTube as well. And I think it's a really cool tool, guys. I'm going to be using it. I'm going to be tracking it. I'm going to be seeing if I can start to get my eyes on some of these names out here that I would never even consider looking at, and maybe get some good trades out there. So I think it's really really exciting stuff, and I think it's a really cool tool, a lot better than really anything I've seen that's in this segment. So really really cool stuff. Great stuff, Chris.
Appreciate that, Bubble, and thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Chris, thanks again for being here tonight. Everybody, thanks so much for being here tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation here on ChatterQuant. I'm excited about it. I hope you guys are too. Once again, guys, remember to check out the links in the description if you want to learn more about it. And like Chris said, feel free to DM him on through the ChatterQuant Twitter page. Feel free to DM me with questions too if you want. If I can, I'll get it over to Chris. And really, really exciting stuff. So, Chris, once again, thanks for being here. Thanks everybody else for staying and tuning in. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. We'll see you guys here on YouTube bright and early tomorrow morning for the Good Morning Market Prep video. And until then, stay healthy out there and remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And we'll talk to you guys soon.